I am Geoffrey back in Medieval Total War. I will do today another overview of Broken Crescent. It is a mod I've been working on over the years, releasing patches and submods and so on. I was not there at the beginning, however I have been looking at the various versions of the mod, including the very early one, and this is going to be about very much the earliest release, how you can get it, how you can download it, how you can patch it up and play it, because it was the version of the mode that has the highest integrity, where the scripts work, where all the units work, where everything is working without problems. Pretty much everything. There are only very minor things that are not quite right. Before I show you Broken Crescent version 1, I will go over all the other versions that have been made since. The last one was released 4 years ago in 2018, and I have already made a video about these various, no, it was before 2018, maybe 2017. In any case, I have made various videos about all the various versions already. It's a video titled something like Broken Crescent versions and submods. I made it about 4 years ago. However, I'm going to very briefly review the submod. I'm going to put links where you can download things in the description below the video, and I'm going to put some of these summaries also there so you can compare for yourselves. And I may do this also in TW Center. I may start perhaps a new thread or something related to Broken Crescent. I'm going to put that stuff there, including the new download links. I'm going to show you how to download it. I just created a link for one of the patches that wasn't available. So let's get going. So the best version, in my opinion, the opinion of many, was unfortunately the first version of Broken Crescent, version 1, that was patched soon after release with patch 1.05. So we have version 1.05. The patch has gone missing, but I've downloaded it or uploaded it to in ModDB. So I am going to put a link and show you where it is, and you can download it from there. Patch then version 1, which is available from a German site called 4players.de, and then you can play version 1 of 1.05 of the mod, which is very smooth running. Now, that was released in 2008. The game came out in 2006 or 2007, I think, and so 4 modders, it was mainly 4 modders, Alpha Delta, Strelak, Grand Viz, and Mirage 41, who did the maps. So the other 3 did the scripting and units, and the AI and stuff like that, and Mirage 41 did the map. That was the first submod, I think, or mod released for the Medieval 2.0 game. It was very well done. I expect at least 1 or 2 of the modders must have been working for Creative Assembly. They did an excellent job and released it soon after the original game. It has some things, or doesn't have some things, that are characteristic of vanilla. For example, there's no battle dust. There's no boiling oil at the gates. This didn't exist at vanilla. There are fewer structures and buildings on the map outside settlements. I think almost never there any. They were introduced in the Kingdoms expansion. Custom battles work exceptionally. So in later versions, when the mode was ported into Medieval Total War Kingdoms, Medieval 2 Total War Kingdoms, something was changed, God knows what, and it's not possible to play custom battles anymore, at least not with settlements, but I'm not sure if you can play any custom battles at all. In any case, the work was inspired by the movie Kingdom of Heaven, so there are many character portraits in the Kingdom of Jerusalem and in Egypt from that movie. There are many scripts related to that movie, the settlements from that movie, and so on. Units that look like the units from the movie. for the Kingdom of Jerusalem. In that early version, there were only 12 playable factions. There was a building called the Crusade that worked exceptionally. I'm going to show you how it works later on. And there were 21 Mongol stacks, which sounds quite a lot compared to something like 5 that appear in vanilla. So in Broken Crescent, 21 Mongol stacks can potentially appear. They are scripted as part of the Mongol invasion. The costing scheme is consistent with the vanilla, very similar. So the costing scheme for the units and the buildings. There were some somewhat silly skins for the campaign characters. So you had the Kingdom of Mercuria and the Hindu factions being basically some naked men wearing trousers, which it was really weird. So that was fixed in the very latest version, thank God. And there was only one level of difficulty for the campaign AI, although it says you can play the game in easy difficulty, normal, hard, or very hard. In fact, all levels of difficulty are the same, except for diplomacy. So diplomacy is harder, very hard, or hard, or very hard. The harder the level, the harder diplomacy gets, but everything else is the same for the campaign. There are differences in the battle AI. So there, if you choose easy, normal, hard, or very hard, these are genuinely different. So the battle AI, the very early one, was scripted mainly by Alpha Delta, but also by Strelak, and it has a particular deployment which I really like, which was unfortunately removed in the later versions, and a lot of things were really removed that shouldn't have been touched. So then came version 2 of the game, which was Parser 2.2, 2.3, and eventually 2.3.2. That has some level of integrity, but which is decent, but not quite as much as in the early game. So the game was ported for medieval Total War kingdoms, and it has some things like, for example, boiling oil at the gates and a couple of other things that you find in kingdoms. These sort of peripheral buildings around settlements, a couple of other things. Not very many, but some appear, but honestly not very many. A lot of them were not there. Also, a lot of buildings were taken out of settlements. I don't know why. So you have some empty areas in settlements, and it looks like you can walk through them, but you cannot. There are placeholders for buildings, so you cannot walk through these empty areas. But the buildings have been removed. God knows why. I don't understand that. So that part of the project, by that time, all the original modders had left, and obviously had no longer any input into the game. This phase was led by a modder called Rudan Clown. There were more units added, but some of the older units were removed, not from the EDU, from the list, but they were removed from the game, including a lot of militia, because he said he didn't like the look of militia, and someone could have made better looking militia, but instead he just removed them, he or someone else. Then all the militia units from the Kingdom of Jerusalem were removed. There were only knights left for the Kingdom of Jerusalem, which I find is strange. And the only militia units the Kingdom of Jerusalem could hire were Muslim units, which somewhat hints at the kind of thinking of some of the new modders that the Crusaders were invaders, right? Invaded a Muslim land where there were only Muslims living. There were no Christians there, there were, so I find this very strange, a very point of view. Then the costing system for the units became less consistent, especially for Mercuria and the Kingdom of Jerusalem. You had infantry for the Kingdom of Jerusalem, which were only knights. You had a unit of, let's say, 12 knights or 15 knights that were dismounted, and they were costing the moon, just to get those 12 dismounted knights. It was really not right. And some of the old scripts and files by the original modders were removed, including the unit deployment and various scripts that were working previously that were removed. There was still only one level of difficulty for the campaign AI. Quotes were added, but they were very strange and unprofessional. They were contributed by various posters, and they were interested in the mod from who knows where, from Georgia or Armenia or whatever. But they were not professional quotes from some text or scholarly text or book or something like this. There was some stuff that they contributed themselves. I am the lion. I will throw you all, toss you up in the air. Stuff like that. Or even not grammatically correct stuff. So it was very unprofessional, I felt. There were stone forts added for the first time, and they were added in historically correct locations very often. For example, there was one added in the location of Tiberias in the Kingdom of Jerusalem. There were some added in Afghanistan, where original forts actually had existed, and a couple of other forts were added in historically correct places, but they didn't have names associated with them. Yeah, there was that. There was a G.J. Carver's Demisa mod created by Byzantine Boy that added various new skins for the campaign map characters and also added some new buildings. A very interesting sub-mod. Unfortunately, we didn't see any more of it, even though Byzantine Boy continued to work as a modder. Then the 21 Mongol stacks were increased to 31 Mongol stacks, and that's because the campaign AI, for some reason, because I don't really understand the change to kingdoms or whatever, became more passive, so they felt they needed more Mongol stacks because they were much of a challenge because the AI was passive. I don't understand it, but in any case, and there were some also rather unusual changes. For example, the Temple of Nativity was added as a building. There was a picture of it in Jerusalem, but although it is obviously the Temple of Nativity of Jesus Christ, it was an Islamic building that gave baths to Islamic factions, not to Christian factions, which I found a little bit strange. I added a patch at that stage that fixed various bugs and added custom portraits and quotes that were more professional from scholarly sources and other things. I also added Hindu quotes from Hindu texts and so on. But then came the time for version 2.4.2, which was essentially a mod by Byzantine Boy, and he didn't use my patch. He went back to the version of 2.3.2 without my fixes, which was a little bit frustrating for me. So on the plus side, he added great skins for the campaign map characters. Some of them existed already in his G.J. Carver's and Demisa mod, but he added a lot of new ones for new factions, because he added 7 new factions. He added Nestorian Christianity, and he added priest portraits for Nestorian Christianity. It's a form of Christianity that was found in Asia, in the East. Unfortunately, he rather disorganized the unit and building costs, so there were very unusual costs, sometimes very costly buildings, or the buildings produced too much economy, and then he had to put the values or the cost of units very high, and this made it very difficult for the AI to understand what it was supposed to build and what it was supposed to hire as units for, let's say, garrisons and so on. And so the AI became also very passive, and in addition he added the lasted AI, the campaign AI by lasted, which is the most passive AI that's ever been made for Medieval 2 Total War, which is the AI that I like the least personally. Extremely passive. And so in any case, he added some new buildings. That's part of the reason why the economy went a little bit through the roof, because there were a lot of new economy buildings and new unit buildings and so on. It's a new recruiting scheme with some high-level high-tier buildings. He added 7 new factions, which was quite a big change. And overall, they had nice units, and it was in many ways well done, these 7 new factions, including extending the map further north in order to fit in these new factions. For example, the Kievan Rus and the Volga Bulgars and the Karakitai among them. Unfortunately, after extending the map northward, a lot of the old campaign scripts stopped working. He didn't pay attention to that, I guess. until it was too late. And they're still not working. Some of them have been removed. Some of them appear to be in the titles there, but when you look for them, they're not there, or just a placeholder, the script is missing, or some new scripts, experimental scripts were added, they are not in the titles, are not in the list. So the campaign script is very disordered, and a lot of stuff is missing and not working, including the Call of the Crusade. The buildings are still there, but the Call of the Crusade no longer works. And partly the reason is that he removed essential settlements for the Kingdom of Jerusalem. He removed several settlements from the Kingdom of Jerusalem that were important for that script to work. And so he never managed to get it to work after that. There were, on the plus side, some of the new factions had some very nice units, great looking new units, for example, from Rosici Total War, but also new original ones that never appeared in any mod. Unfortunately, version 2.4.2, although it was made by Byzantine Boy, it does not incorporate his previous submod, the Jizya Carvers and Dimis, except for some skins for the campaign characters. That's a little bit unfortunate because it was an interesting mod, but I have to say it was a little bit buggy when it came. It was causing some crashes and some weird errors with the Nestorian Christian marriages or something. Something was buggy about some part of the script. In any case, he removed Stone Force that had been incorporated in version 2.3.2. I don't understand why he removed the Stone Force. Maybe he forgot to put them back in. And he added 41 Mongol stacks. So we went from 21 to 31, now to 41 Mongol stacks. And I think if you go to 41 Mongol stacks, when vanilla has only 4 or 5, if you go to 41 Mongol stacks, you must have a problem in the mod. Something is not working. If you really need that many Mongol stacks to get something going, to make it a challenge for the human player, because the mod has become very passive because of the weird costing schemes, because of the Lassad AI, because of the extension of the map that made a lot of the scripts not working anymore, including scripts that were working in the previous Kingdoms versions, such as the Bulgarian Rebellion was working 2.3.2. It is no longer working 2.4.2. And so it was a mixed success, this new version. There was also no map on the start screen for faction selection. Well, there is a map, but it doesn't show where the factions are, what areas they control. There are no win movies or any loss movies, win movies or whatever for the new factions for when you win the campaign. Nothing happens. He removed, as I said, many of the Kingdom of Jerusalem settlements that were important for the campaign script. Unfortunately, the original mod was very much centered on the Kingdom of Jerusalem. So, I think it's unfortunate that it was the one he decided to, sideline in his version. Then came Buff and Shine, a submod which is quite, relatively popular submod, which added 2 new factions and a tribal recruitment set of buildings, so to speak, and settlements for tribal mercenaries or groups, because a lot of the tribal groups had been removed by Byzantine Boys. So this new submod added them back with this new building scheme or something. There was also a civil disorder script added to the game. I don't know why. And there were demonstrations and protests in Islamic regions for more women's rights and more schools and better education and more workers' rights. So very typical for the period. In any case, so that was one line of development for version 2.4.2. And at that point, I created my Invita submod, which fixed several bugs, but has not fixed yet the Call of the Crusade and the Bulgarian Rebellion and various other scripts that are no longer working, even though the buildings are there. The building is there, so you click on the Call of Crusade building, and I'll show you how it works. And then you click and you think, oh, I'm going to get a Crusade. Never happens, because the script is missing. The building is there, but the script is missing from the campaign script, so nothing will happen if you click on it or if you build this building. Then I corrected various spelling errors from various, kind of text descriptions and all kinds of things. I added missing unit images and skins even. that were missing from some captains and so on. I added so images that were missing from various buildings, and they had a very building appearing. You can build this thing, but it had no image, for example, or you had a unit you could recruit, but the unit had no image, or things like that. So I added those things. I added new loading screens that were, I felt, better made, much better than the old ones from 2.4.2. I added new movie intros for the new factions, although they were very, very big, so I'm not sure if I'm going to keep those. And I added Byzantine names for the Byzantine database of King's College London, as opposed to some arbitrary modern Greek names that had been added previously. I used quotes from scholarly sources, from Islamic sources, from Ghaznavid sources, or Hindu Sanskrit sources, translated by scholars, of course, as opposed to just random sort of quotes that were unsourced, provided by random posters at the modding area. And I had named stone forts such as the Crac des Chevaliers, Ascalon, Tiberias, Belvoir Castle in the Kingdom of Jerusalem area, the Holy Lands. I had Alamut and various other castles and forts that existed in reality and even existed in version 2.4.2, although they were not named. I've added also the names to them, but they have been removed by Byzantine Boy, and then they were never added back. I don't know if he had the intention to add them back, but he never added them back. Because when he was making the map, obviously, they were no longer corresponding to the actual locations he had. He would have had to rename the locations and kind of design them and so on, but he never, I guess, did it. Never got to do it. And so that is the existing situation with the various submods. Now you can find all these submods at the TW Center, but what I'm hoping to do is revamp everything. So start from version 1.05. I'm going to show you now the version 1.05. And then I'm going to show you how the scripts work and so on. And then I'll start from that and start adding bit by bit by bit, play testing all the time until there is a mode of high integrity that doesn't have scripts that are not working, buildings that don't do anything, and units that have random costing schemes and weird stuff like that. But I will try to add everything that other modders have worked on. All the 7 new factions of Byzantine Boy, all the new skins for the map characters, additional skins that I have created, not skins, rather portraits that I have created, much better than the original ones, I think, and like for merchants, for diplomats, for things like that, especially for the new factions. I'm going to add some stuff on the Buff and Shine submod, anything that's good, but without removing anything from the old original Broken Crescent. So everything will be added on top of it. I will not replace the original campaign AI with the passive lasted AI. It's really not a very good AI. Nobody likes it unless you never want to fight any battles and you want to have an easy campaign. But if you want to have an easy campaign, then you can have 4 campaign difficulty levels, which I added in my Vita submode. So there is an easy campaign difficulty, a normal, a medium, whatever, a hard and a very hard. These are not just diplomacy. That's hard and very hard and so on. The campaign level itself, the economy and how aggressive the AI is and things like that are also different. Yeah. So I had added that in my bugs and the bug fixing patch for 2.3.2. I added it a second time again for version 2.4.2. And then, in my Vita submod, and I'm going to add all those things also for the new thing that I'm planning to start, but it's going to be a ton of work and I need to be unemployed to do it. So let's get onto the stuff that I want to show you. So this is the beginning of Broken Crescent version 1. And how it looked, and I have patched it up to 1.05. The patch was missing, but I'm going to show you where to get it from. Just hang on, it'll be at the end of the video. I'll put place place times or whatever. So let's have a look. Let's load a little bit of campaign game. Just been playing the Kingdom of Jerusalem, which, was the central faction at the beginning of the mod, and still, it was the central faction of the stage, the important faction around which all these events were happening. And so I have played, maybe about 100 game turns or so. The Mongol invasion is happening. I actually finished it, but at this point, I think I hadn't quite finished it yet. This campaign, everything went fine. It ran very smoothly. The AI was very aggressive. It was very, very good. It's really very highly recommended, this build 1.05. So Kingdom of Jerusalem. This is the map. You can see the various factions. Here's the Kingdom of Jerusalem in blue on the map. You will not get this kind of working selection of the factions in some of the later versions, unfortunately, until you get into Mein Vita submode. And they had different loading screens, version 1.05, which I thought were better than the later ones in any case. And they have some of the silly intros that we get to see later on. The intros at this stage are much better. Oh, no intros really, though. Just going into the game is much better. So you can see some of the original characters from Kingdom of Jerusalem, like the king and Reign of the Chatillon, the other characters, Prince Guy and Balian. Here's Jaffa is a very important building. So these three settlements, Jaffa, Jerusalem, and Acre, where you find the Call of the Crusade building. If you lose one of those two settlements, of the three settlements, and then you have the other two, you can click on this icon here, the Call of the Crusade, this blue icon with a cross, and 2 game turns later you have this building completed if you have enough money, and then that means you're requesting PayPal assistance. A few game turns later you get an event that Crusade has been launched if you do it properly, and depending on when this happens, if it's like 29 or 39 game turns into the game, then you may get Frederick Barbarossa and the Frederick of Swabia. If it's later, you get Richard the Lionheart and so on. So you have also various events at this point. Richard the First, so Richard Lionheart has been coronated. Crusade has been launched. It's not Richard's Crusade. This is going to be now Frederick Barbarossa and Frederick of Swabia, the 2 German or Frankish princes. You get various other events such as Kipchak hordes unite. These events have become buggy or don't work in the later versions of the mod, especially the very latest version. And a few game turns later, you get this Crusaders Arrive event. And I'll show you, so the 2 Frankish princes, or the king and the prince. Okay, also there's some spelling errors like Heretical Philosophy Executuit or something. I've corrected those in my submodes. And so here's Frederick Barbarossa, here's Frederick of Swabia. They spawn near Nicaea, so in the Byzantine Empire. And then it's no use if you need them in the Kingdom of Jerusalem. You need them in the Holy Lands because it's going to take, like 10 game turns to get there. And they also have a very high upkeep. They have very many units. You can see at the bottom. And the 2 of them cost about 8,000 upkeep per turn. So my view is you have to dismiss some of those units, keep the rest, and then use them to ransack Turkish settlements, on the way to the Kingdom of Jerusalem, but don't expect them to be of any use to you if you want them at the Holy Lands. You can use them just, to ransack some settlements here like Konya and so on. You can attack the settlements and take them out. And so that was the Call of the Crusade. Here's Balian, so on. So this will work in version 1 of the mod. It will work similarly in Broken Crescent 2.3.2, but it will not work at all in version 2.4.2 or any higher level version. So that's that event with the Crusaders arriving. So I'm going to show you, I'm not going to show you a battle. but I'm going to show you how to download version 0.1 of the mod. So this is the building, this is the event you get when you, here we have lost Jaffa, but we still have Acre and Jerusalem. We've called this event here, Richard has arrived. So this is at a later stage in the campaign. Richard the Lionheart has arrived. Now Richard the Lionheart actually arrives in the Holy Lands. You know, and historically he tried to recover Jaffa, Acre, and Jerusalem, but he only managed to recover Acre, I think, or maybe Acre and Jaffa, but never managed to recover Jerusalem. And he comes with a sizable army, again a very costly one. It's going to cost you about 4,000 or so florins per game turn, so very costly. So you have to use him very quickly. You have to save money for the upkeep of his Crusader army. So here are the Muslims besieging Jerusalem, besieging Jaffa, or very close to Jaffa, controlling Jaffa rather, and close to attacking also Acre. Here's the victory event. So I have finished the campaign at version 1.05 of the mode, and having played until the end, I can tell you it worked just fine. It had its tough moments, some very, very tough moments. But it worked out okay. There were no bugs, no issues, maybe a couple of minor ones. There was maybe some unit portraits missing from the unit descriptions, a couple of unit descriptions, but nothing major.
Has risen into a mighty empire. France is now the shining light of a once splintered
Okay, so I'm going to show you now how to get... Okay. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to download the mod. So you have to go to oh god damn it, where would it be? No. But damn it, so kinds of things here. No, it's not this one either. Maybe here. Well, it's not this one, but in any case, we can probably find. There is somewhere the original version 1 of the mod, and it's in a site called www.4 players, www.4players.de, and if you search for it and you search for Broken Crescent version 1, then you'll find it there. You can download it from there. But you could never, it's no longer possible to find the patch that was released soon after the original release of the mod, this patch 1.05. So to find the patch, you have to go to moddb, as I'm showing to you here, and then you download the patch from this. It was only released yesterday or today, November 6, 2022. So that's where you find the patch. So you download first the original mod. It has an executive. You click on the executive. It sets everything up for you. And then you download the patch. And in the patch, it's a zipped file. You find a folder called data. You take this data folder and you extract it into the mod, so that files within the data folder will replace previous files. Yeah, this patch was written by Graham Viz, one of the original modders, and it works. It's the original patch. There's nothing that I've added to it. It just there was nowhere available, and I had been in the mod for a long time, so I happened to have had a copy of the patch, and so I uploaded it here for everyone's use. So that's how you do it, and I think that's my overview again of mainly Broken Crescent version 1, but also the previous versions. I will add some of these descriptions for your reference in the description to the video, okay, of the video, down below the video. Yeah. Okay, so that was it. And thank you for watching and listening.